Um, I got to speak with Todd for just a minute, but just for anyone else listening, I'm relatively new to the work. Just started a few months ago after hearing other people speak of Byron Katie's work before I dove in myself. And I really struggled with it at first, with how powerful it was, how radically owning it was of not needing the universe to be a certain way, and really accepted removing should from my vocabulary, even mentally, as mental thoughts of should has just really, I've seen the truth in that feels like it's dawned on me. But I still feel anxiety or suffering that goes along even after removing the should. And I love how, in the later parts of the work, you can't force a thought to change, you can't force yourself to change, but I still struggle with having the conscious, grounded, peace that Byron Katie talks about, and connection to the universe, and without needing things to change, and yet still in the subconscious is maybe where I'm still feel like there's suffering and um, disharmony or dissonance with the universe. And so I come to Todd and Edwin, if maybe he has an experience with this, but just and maybe it just takes time. I guess that's where I sort of feel lost in I really believe and accept the philosophies and removing should, but I still feel friction and suffering in sort of a subconscious is the best way I can put it.
That's a great, great question. And I think something that resonates with a lot of people that discover the work or start to do it. Um, and what comes to mind as you bring this up is that should has many different levels to it. And we can, on one level, remove should from my vocabulary, and that's something, right? There's something, wow, okay, and maybe I just won't say should. But that's still kind of just the surface level of it. That's the word itself, or the actual expression of should. And then you alluded to like maybe something subconscious still going on. There's something suffering there. And that's my experience, is that the should, I can't just remove should from my vocabulary on a subconscious level. I can't just remove should on a deeper level uh, without without going through a process. And that's what this work is. It's a process where you kind of listen to the subconscious, which comes up in little waves of emotion. The negative emotion will tell you there's still something I'm believing here. I'm still suffering. So that emerges from the subconscious. And then when I listen to it and I do the work in it, and I actually give it time and hold that little crying baby, as Byron Katie sometimes calls it, when I hold that and I start to ask the questions of it, almost like, hey, is it true? Hey, little baby, are you sure? Can you absolutely know it's true? How do you react when you believe this? It's like, and just really, it's emotional because it's, like you say, subconscious. It's coming out from somewhere deep inside. And then who would you be without that thought? Oh my God, it's like, it has to discover, and it can't go too fast. You can't push it. It has to sit in that question like, oh my God, I've never heard that question before. What in the world? Who would I be without the thought that's making me suffer? And so what I'm saying is this, doing the work, going through these 4 questions and then finding turnarounds, all of this is a meditative process. And what I mean by meditative is that it's not just the understanding. The understanding is, okay, should is causing me suffering, so I'm just not going to use should. But that doesn't touch the deeper part that it has a life of its own. So I have to go down into that area and be in there and be with those 4 questions and turnarounds in a very gentle way, and allow it to work itself out. When you go through the questions and the turnarounds, this part, the kind of stuck part in here, starts to see the situation differently, actually see it differently. And so then what happens is the should, on that subtle kind of should, that little lingering should, even though I've removed the words, that lingering should, it starts to dissolve. It starts to be like, doesn't even make sense anymore because I'm seeing the situation differently. So it's that re-experiencing in a different way the situation that actually causes the grounded peace. It causes that anxiety to go away, like to really go away. The ironic thing is, when that happens, when you've really seen it, when the subconscious, the stuck part of me, has actually seen the situation differently and now doesn't see a problem where it used to see it as a problem, when that happens, you could actually use the word should again and it won't bother you. So it's not that should is a bad word. It's just that it's that the meaning of should that really, when I'm still believing it, it's gonna debilitate me. But once I've gained a certain amount of freedom, I can say should, and I can have preferences. I can like this and not like this. I can want this and not want this. And there's a freedom in that because on a deeper level, there's no real deep should going on. Like, I know, yeah, I want that. He should be nice, but I don't really believe it. Like if he isn't nice, I'll still be fine with that. That's a different kind of playing with it. So I think the key to this question is the layers of it, right? There's the surface layer of should, and then there's the deeper layers of should. And the deeper layers is where I'm really attached, and that's where I'm really holding on for dear life. I've got an identity at stake, and that I just have to be gentle with and just bring these questions in. And for me, the key is letting the stuck part do the work, not letting my intellect do the work, because it can do it in a breeze. It can just say, oh yeah, great examples, I'm done. But it might not touch the deeper part. So I like to give it the center stage and say, hey, what do you think? How do you react? And who would you be without the thought? And can you turn it around? It's almost like talking with a child and saying, hey, can you find an example of the opposite of that? And like, well, I don't know. Oh, well, maybe like, and then it starts to get excited and involved. And then suddenly it's let go of this should that was causing it suffering. So anyway, those are a few thoughts on that idea. It's a super good question.